But okay, well, let me just get started. I think you're all seeing me and seeing my presentation. My name is René Morales. I'm Chief Curator at Paris Art Museum, Miami. I have been in this role just since January. So in other words, just 2.5 months into my experience managing this number of people, this pandemic began, and really has been, my experience as Chief Curator has been really very different from what I expected. Anyway, and I think my presentation will be much more focused on logistics than what you've heard so far. But anyway, this is our building. If you haven't had a chance to visit it, I hope you will be able to do so soon. We miss our building. We love our building. I am showing this slide just to make a simple point. I think that one of the effects of this pandemic has been that it has prompted us to look at art with which we were already familiar in totally different ways. This work, for example, this IKT Fuiste, Since You've Been Gone, You Can't Imagine by Jose Bedia, has just been ringing through my head since March. And I think we have built programs around this, or I know we have built programs around this, this way in which the pandemic has affected our way of seeing art. I will now run through as quickly as possible through these bullet points. I was asked to just kind of give a sense of how the pandemic has affected my organization, how we have responded to it, and particularly how it's affected our exhibition program. This is way, way too much, wildly too much information to give in 5 minutes, but I'll do my best. We've been working from home since March 17th. I added the word indefinitely there just to underscore the point that unlike other organizations and museums, at least in my department, I've been in no hurry to have folks who don't need to be coming into the museum come in. Of course, that doesn't apply to the installation crew and the registrars. You can install an exhibition from home, obviously, as well as our security staff, our engineers who have been there since the beginning. I think it's important for all of us at this moment to really recognize and acknowledge and show appreciation to those folks who are having to go in every day. We have not reopened, obviously, if that hasn't been clear so far. We will be reopening in early November. As some of you might know, the pandemic has been particularly severe here in Miami. At one point, we were a national, if not international, at least hemispheric epicenter with positivity rates approaching 30%. Now they're back down to about 5%, so we're approaching the levels where it becomes safer to reopen. I'm going to skip over a lot of this. I think most of these practices have become almost museum standard at this point. The installment of COVID-19 measures, by which I mean, installing plexiglass, hand sanitizing stations, et cetera, and creating a unidirectional flow, which I'll try to talk about in a moment. We've reduced our public hours, or we will once we reopen. We will be open Thursday evenings, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. For us, this is a big switch. Previously, we were closed only one day out of the week, and often we would program private events during that day. So we are switching from a practically 365 days a year organization to one that is quite different. And this, I believe, is going to take quite a radical psychological shift. We've reduced our exhibition changeovers, the number of installations, rather than changing over a given gallery, say, 3 or 4 times a year. We are changing it over once and extending exhibition times. We're working with radically reduced crews and staggered shifts and shorter shifts. Of course, working all day, doing physical work all day with a mask on can be quite taxing. I won't have time to go into the testing, but this has been so much part of my life these last few weeks, working through these kinds of issues and the kind of planning process that involves. Unlike many other institutions, we have tried as much as possible not to cancel exhibitions, but rather to keep our exhibitions intact, but just postpone them and stretch out. All of a sudden, we were programmed out all the way into 2023. At the same time, it's been like taking our shows and putting them in a blender, mixing them up and seeing what happens. And also, I think, has provided us opportunities to make decisions about what to present at this moment this is kind of an interesting point, I think. We have been able to respond to this moment in a way that's more direct than we would have by virtue of this ability to pick and choose and grab exhibitions from the future and shuffle things around in order to really be responsive. And I think that that comes through. This is that unidirectional flow that I referred to a moment ago. We won't have time to go through, other than to mention that our Herzog and de Meuron building was very much not conducive to a unidirectional flow. It's very much based on this idea of visitor choice as you go through the galleries. So that's been quite a challenge. But let me just run through a few of our exhibitions, and I think this will help clarify what I was saying about how the crisis, if there's been a silver lining, has allowed us to really respond to this moment in a much more focused way. So we're presenting this exhibition, as well as Welcome Mogosi, Your Trip to Africa, project that I organized. Polyphonic, Celebrating Pam's Fund for African American Art. A few installation shots here, the Astrogates Breathing, and My Body, My Rules, which deals with basically feminist issues, which was, now that we were able to put it in this slot, really is very timely and has made us able to respond very directly to the current election cycle. So that's about it for my presentation. Let me stop sharing.